A knock at the door. You look through the peephole. A blonde woman in her 30s stands outside. She holds a clipboard and smiles pleasantly. Gas company, routine inspection. You open the door. She steps inside, asks about your stove, requests a glass of water. You turn toward the sink to get her a glass. She pulls out a hammer and strikes you in the back of the head. Once, twice. She doesn't stop. 18 blows to your skull. You're dead. May 22nd, 2010. Krasnoufimsk, Russia. Police break down a locked apartment door. A neighbor called them after hearing a starving cat crying for 2 straight days. Inside the bathroom, they find an 81-year-old woman's body in a bathtub filled with cold water. Her skull was shattered by 18 hammer strikes. The killer thought she was still breathing, so she filled the tub and drowned her to make sure. This was murder number 17. For 8 years, police hunted this killer. They questioned over 3,000 people, created composite sketches, and posted them on every street corner, conducted mass fingerprinting of the entire town. They even brought in hypnotists, psychics, and numerologists. In desperation, they arrested an innocent woman, tortured her with a plastic bag over her head until she confessed to crimes she didn't commit. 3 police officers later went to prison for this torture. Meanwhile, the real killer lived a normal life. She walked her 12-year-old daughter to school every morning, bought bread at the local store, volunteered on the parent-teacher committee at school. Her composite sketch was posted on a telephone pole directly across from her apartment building. She walked past it every single day. One neighbor even joked to her face, "Ira, that police drawing looks exactly like you." She just laughed it off. 17 elderly women, ages 61 to 89. They all lived alone in old Soviet apartment buildings. They kept small amounts of cash hidden in their homes, money saved for their own funerals. They opened their doors to this woman, invited her inside, made her tea in their kitchens, offered her cookies, showed her family photographs, complained about their loneliness and their ungrateful children who never visited, and she murdered every single one of them with a hammer, stole their money, locked their doors from the inside to delay discovery. Over 8 years and 17 murders, she stole approximately 50,000 rubles total. That's less than 3,000 rubles per murder, about $40 each. She spent it all on cheap vodka. The serial killer who terrorized an entire region for 8 years turned out to be an ordinary mother of 2 children. Her husband had one rule. She was never allowed to visit elderly neighbors alone. He was afraid she would borrow money from them to buy alcohol and embarrass the family again. He was wrong about one thing. She had stopped borrowing money years ago. Now, she just killed people and took it. Krasnoufimsk, Sverdlovsk Oblast, population approximately 40,000 people. A quiet provincial town where everyone knows each other. Old Soviet 5-story buildings without intercoms, narrow stairwells with peeling paint, creaking stairs, dim lighting that barely works. In every building live several lonely pensioners. Their husbands are dead. Their children moved away to Yekaterinburg, Moscow, St. Petersburg. They survive on modest pensions. They save money for their funerals, hide it in mattresses, behind icons, inside books. Since 2002, elderly women in this town began dying, one after another, brutally. Hammer blows to the skull, in their own apartments, behind locked doors. At first, people thought it was a random robbery. Then they suspected a gang from a neighboring city. Then, an escaped mental patient. Flyers were posted throughout the entire city. Never in the history of Krasnoufimsk has there been such a series of brutal murders. We must unite against the killer. Elderly women stopped opening their doors, even to relatives. They feared every knock. Some began sleeping with kitchen knives under their pillows. Others asked neighbors to check on them twice a day. The local hardware store sold out of door chains and additional locks within days. Pensioners who could barely afford food spent their last money on security devices. But the murders continued. The killer adapted. She became more convincing, more patient, more careful. The fear was palpable. You could see it in the empty streets after dark, in the way old women clutched their purses, in the way they looked over their shoulders. The entire town was living in terror of a phantom they couldn't identify. March 9, 1972, the city of Karpinsk, Sverdlovsk Oblast. An ordinary Soviet family welcomed a baby girl named Irina Mashkina. Her childhood was unremarkable. The family soon moved to Nyagan, an oil town in the Khanty-Mansi Autonomous District. Her father worked in the oil industry. Her mother was a clerk. They lived in a standard Soviet apartment. In school, Irina was average. Not brilliant, not troublesome. She blended into the crowd. Teachers barely remembered her years later. She had a few friends, but no one close. She liked music, particularly Western rock bands. After graduation, she enrolled in a law faculty at an institute. She loved parties and neglected her studies. Freedom intoxicated her more than any lecture ever could. At 19, she met a man at a local dance, Irina Gaidamachuk, a long-haul truck driver. He was 42 years old, 23 years her senior. To Irina, he seemed experienced, worldly, stable. He had money. He had his own apartment, a whirlwind romance, pregnancy, marriage within months. Irina took her husband's surname, dropped out of the institute. Their daughter Alina was born in 1992, but motherhood didn't come naturally to her. Irina wanted to continue the party life, gatherings, entertainment, freedom, music, dancing. Instead, she faced diapers, sleepless nights, and a crying baby who needed constant attention. The apartment felt like a prison. She started drinking, first on weekends, then more frequently. Wine with dinner, then vodka, then daily. She went on binges, disappeared for several days at a time, leaving the baby with her husband or neighbors. Her husband supported the family financially. His long-haul routes paid well, but every time he came home from a trip, money was missing. Irina had drunk it away. The fights were constant, screaming matches that neighbors could hear through thin walls, broken dishes, threats, little Alina crying in the corner. Irina Gaidamachuk couldn't take it anymore. In 1998, after 6 years of marriage, he kicked his wife and daughter out of the house, packed their belongings in 2 suitcases, changed the locks. Late 1990s, Russia's economy is collapsing. Irina is 27 years old. She's alone with 6-year-old Alina. No money, no job, no prospects. The pull of alcohol is stronger than her maternal instinct, much stronger. And Irina Gaidamachuk makes a decision that would sever her last connection to humanity. She gives her 6-year-old daughter to an orphanage, simply surrenders her, walks into the building, signs papers, and walks out, alone, free, no longer burdened. Little Alina screamed for her mother. Irina didn't look back, and she leaves town, to Krasnoufimsk, to search for a new life, a fresh start. She leaves her passport in Nyagan as collateral for a debt she owes to a loan shark. 3,000 rubles borrowed and spent on vodka in 2 weeks. She promises to return with the money. She never does. Without a passport, she becomes invisible to the system. Krasnoufimsk. At the local market, Irina meets Yuri Kuznetsov, a driver for a local transportation company. He's 35, divorced, living with his elderly mother in a 2-room apartment. A romance begins. Irina is charming when she's sober. She can cook, she can make him laugh, she listens to his problems. Pregnancy. She moves into his apartment. Her second daughter, Nastya, is born. Irina has no passport, no registration, no official employment. The child is registered under the father's name only. Officially, Irina doesn't exist in Krasnoufimsk. For several years, she plays the role of an exemplary mother, takes Nastya to school every morning, braids her hair, packs her lunch, serves on the parent committee, organizes school events, cooks, cleans, maintains order in the home. Neighbors notice nothing unusual, just an ordinary family. They wave to her on the street, borrow eggs and sugar, chat about the weather and the rising prices. But behind closed doors, everything is different. Irina drinks again. She hides bottles in the back of the closet, in the toilet tank, under the sink. Yuri finds them. The fights resume. Yuri tries to control it by refusing to give her money for alcohol. He keeps the family budget locked away, gives her only small amounts for groceries, and checks the receipts. His mother hates her daughter-in-law. The old woman never accepted Irina, knows about the drinking, calls her a fraud, a parasite. Constant arguments fill the apartment. Gaidamachuk grows angry at elderly people. Her parents don't help her. Her mother-in-law harasses her daily. The resentment builds. The money for vodka has run out. She starts borrowing from neighbors, knocks on doors with elaborate stories. Her daughter needs money for a school trip. Her mother-in-law needs expensive medicine. Can you lend 500 rubles? At first, neighbors help. But when Irina never pays them back, they see through the deception. Doors stop opening for her. Then Irina takes odd jobs. She whitewashes ceilings, knits sweaters on commission, works as a painter at the railway depot, unofficially for cash. The work brings in money, but it all goes to vodka. Cheap vodka in plastic bottles. Nastya finishes elementary school, 4th grade graduation. The class collects money for a celebration. Each family contributes 200 rubles. The parent committee, including Irina, is responsible for organizing everything. Irina Gaidamachuk collects the money, 4,000 rubles, and drinks it away in less than a week. When the other parents discover the money is gone, a scandal erupts. Accusations, threats to call police. Yuri has to reimburse every family. The humiliation is complete. From that day, nobody trusts Irina. Other mothers won't speak to her. Children are told not to play with Nastya. The family becomes pariahs. Yuri tightens control over the budget even more. Not a single ruble goes to Irina without accounting for it. Irina is 30 years old, 2 abandoned daughters, alcoholism, a life without prospects, a family that despises her, a town that knows her shame. In the summer of 2002, something breaks inside her. She kills for the first time. Summer 2002, Uktomskogo Street, Krasnoufimsk, the same street where, 8 years later, she will kill her final victim. An elderly woman, Vera Sosnik, hires Irina Gaidamachuk to whitewash the ceiling in her apartment. They met at the railway depot. The woman needs help. Her pension is small, but she can afford to pay 500 rubles for a day's work. The work takes most of the day. By evening, the job is almost finished. The homeowner is in another room, preparing tea. Irina is alone in the bedroom, She looks at the nightstand beside the bed. 3 drawers, unlocked, money for vodka. Her husband won't give her any. Just take it. Nobody will know. She opens the drawer. An envelope. 2,000 rubles. Her heart pounds. Take it and leave. What are you doing? Vera stands in the doorway. She saw everything. Her face turns red with anger. Thief! I'm calling the police right now. Panic explodes in Irina's chest. Police means prison. Prison means losing Nastia forever. On the nightstand lies a hammer, a tool from the renovation work. Irina grabs it. Vera turns toward the phone. The first blow strikes the back of her head. The old woman gasps, turns around. Blood streams down her face. The second blow, the third, the fourth, the fifth. Irina doesn't count, just swings until the woman stops moving. Vera Sosnick collapses to the floor. Blood pools around her gray hair. Silence. The first seconds bring shock. Her hands tremble. Her heart pounds. Then comes cold realization. Nobody knew she was here. No written agreement. Nobody saw her enter. No witnesses. Gaidamachuk searches the apartment. Finds another 1,000 rubles. Takes it all. 3,000 total. She washes her hands. Washes the hammer. Finds an old jacket in the closet. Puts it on over her bloody clothes. She locks the door from inside. Throws the key into the trash. Exits through the fire escape. She walks to the store. Buys vodka. Goes home. Yuri and his mother are watching television. Nastia is doing homework. How was work? Yuri asks. Fine. Tiring, Irina says. That night, she drinks alone while everyone sleeps. Her hands still shake. The body is discovered 3 days later. Police collect evidence, fingerprints, blood samples. They check their database for matching fingerprints. Nothing. No hits. Because Irina Gaidamachuk doesn't exist in the system. No passport. No registration. She's invisible. The case goes cold. Irina watches the news reports, feels nothing. No guilt, just relief. And she realizes 3 things. First, elderly women are easy targets. Lonely, weak, trusting. Second, they always have money for their funerals, hidden in the apartment. Third, they won't find her. She's invisible. 1 month later, Irina Gaidamachuk kills again. From 2002 to 2010, Irina Gaidamachuk commits 17 murders. She develops a precise system. In the morning, she leaves home, supposedly for work. Her husband suspects nothing. She walks the streets of Krasnoufimsk, looks at old 5-story buildings near the railway, searches for her victim. An elderly woman exits an apartment building, walks slowly, alone. Gaidamachuk follows her discreetly, memorizes the address, the entrance number, the floor. Sometimes she acts more cunningly. She comes to the door. Nobody's home. She leaves a note. Dear residents, if you want to exchange your apartment, we are ready to help. Please be home May 11th at 1 p.m. Housing Office Lawyer Irina. Or, Dear residents, please be home May 5th at 1 p.m. Ventilation Duct Inspection. Sometimes she signs with her real name. She's not afraid. The next day, she knocks on the door. Who's there? Gas company, stove inspection. Or social services, pension recalculation. Or housing office, water meter check. Or fire inspection. In her hands, a homemade red flag, or a clipboard, or a worn briefcase. It looks official. She knows how to talk, how to gain trust. She smiles, wins confidence within minutes. Even the most suspicious old women open their doors to her. One victim was extremely distrustful. For years, she wouldn't let even neighbors into her apartment, lived locked away, feared everyone. But Irina Gaidamachuk managed to charm her. The old woman let the killer inside, offered her tea. Often the pensioners offer tea. They sit in the kitchen, talk. They complain about life, about loneliness, about illnesses, about small pensions. Irina listens, nods, shows sympathy, drinks tea. If they don't offer tea, she asks for water. The main thing is to make sure the victim is home alone. Nobody will come. The old woman turns her back, goes to the sink or to the refrigerator. Gaidamachuk pulls out a hammer, a blow to the back of the head, sharp, strong. The victim falls. But the killer doesn't stop. Second blow, third, 10th, 15th, 20th, multiple blows to the same spot. This is typical for female killers. Rage mixed with panic. The skull shatters, blood everywhere. Irina covers the bloodied head with a pillow or a towel, so she doesn't have to see it. Then the search begins. Chaotic, nervous, wardrobes, drawers, nightstands, under the mattress, behind icons, in books, in jars on shelves. Usually she finds 1,000 rubles, sometimes 3,000, once 16,000. That was the maximum. But sometimes she finds nothing. The pensioners hid their savings too carefully. In several cases, Gaidamachuk left with only food from the refrigerator: sausage, bread, jam. She doesn't touch gold jewelry, chains, rings, earrings. She leaves them. Only money and food. Over 8 years and 17 murders, approximately 50,000 rubles total. Less than 3,000 per murder. If profit was the goal, she worked very poorly. Before leaving, the final ritual. Gaidamachuk locks the door from inside with the owner's key, throws the key down the garbage chute, or hides it in the apartment. The bodies aren't discovered immediately, after 2 or 3 days, sometimes a week. In several cases, she tries to start a fire, leaves an iron turned on, or a lit candle, to burn the evidence. But it never works. The iron falls, the plug comes out, the candle goes out. Winter 2008, Mayakovsky Street. Gaidamachuk kills an 80-year-old woman, searches the apartment, finds some money, but she doesn't leave. She stays the night, sits in the kitchen, meters from the body, takes out pen and paper. Until morning, she writes down Beatles' song lyrics. Yesterday, Let It Be, Hey Jude. In the morning, she calmly leaves, locks the door, goes home. February 2003, the third attack, Gaidamachuk's first serious mistake. Sovetskaya Street, a 90-year-old pensioner opens the door. A young woman's voice said, "Social worker." But the blows begin immediately. The old woman wears a thick fur hat. It softens the blows. The woman starts screaming, loudly, desperately. Neighbors rush onto the landing. One looks through the peephole, sees a blonde woman in a light jacket. Gaidamachuk flees. The first survivor. Police create a composite sketch. Woman aged 25 to 35. Blonde hair, thin. Height about 160 to 165 centimeters. Flyers appear everywhere. Never in our city's history has there been such a series of brutal murders. We must unite against the killer. The composite sketch on every pole, in every store, in every building. One hangs directly across from the house where Irina Gaidamachuk lives. A massive investigation begins. They question practically every blonde woman in the city. Many blonde women panic and dye their hair dark. They fear suspicion. Female workers from social services, housing offices, gas companies undergo particularly thorough checks. Blonde women from these organizations take sick leave. They don't want to visit pensioners' apartments. They're afraid they'll be mistaken for the killer. Mass fingerprinting, thousands of fingerprints, tens of thousands of handwriting samples, not a single match. Irina Gaidamachuk is invisible to the system. She has no passport. It remained in Nyagin as collateral. In Krasnoufimsk, she lives without registration. Nowhere is she officially employed. She simply doesn't exist in databases. Neighbors see the resemblance to the composite sketch. One acquaintance tells Irina, "Look how much that sketch looks like you." Gaidamachuk laughs. "Oh, come on. Half the city fits that description." At the scene of the 9th murder, Irina leaves the hammer behind. For the first time, forensic experts examine it. Female fingerprints. On the metal, blood from several victims. All cases are combined into a series. Now it's official. A serial killer operates in Sverdlovsk Oblast. Investigators notice a strange pattern. The 5th victim lived in apartment 5, the 7th in building 7, the 9th in apartment 9. At the 5th murder scene, someone drew the number 5 with a cigarette butt. Is the killer numbering her victims? Playing games? They bring in a numerologist, hypnotists from the Ministry of Internal Affairs Research Institute. They try to activate memories of witnesses. Nothing helps. They even bring in psychics. 3 different ones. They visit crime scenes, go into trances. One psychic says the killer lives near the railway. Another says the killer's name begins with I or L. The third produces the most specific vision. I see a woman, blonde. She is both mother and monster. She has abandoned one child and lives with another. Her hands are covered in blood, but she washes them clean every day. She lives in plain sight. Police dismiss this as nonsense. Years later, they'll realize it was completely accurate. But throughout all of this, Irina Gaidamachuk continues her normal life. She lives at 15 Proletarskaya Street, apartment 34. A composite sketch hangs directly across from her building. She walks past it every day. Her mother-in-law says, "Ira, you look too much like that sketch." A neighbor says, "Good thing we all know you, or I'd be calling police." She laughs nervously. Irina laughs along. "Half the women in town look like that." She watches the news religiously, reads every newspaper article, knows exactly what evidence police have. But she also knows they'll never find her in their databases. She's invisible, she adapts, wears wigs sometimes, glasses, different clothes. She expands her hunting ground, stops killing only in Krasnoufimsk. She travels to Yekaterinburg, Shirokaya Rechka district. In one day, she kills 2 women, both 85 years old. Both let her in because she said she was from fire safety. She travels to Serov, 350 kilometers away, kills 2 women there, Nizhny Tagil, Druzhinino, Achit. She's spreading crimes across multiple jurisdictions, different police departments, harder to connect. In Achit, a small town 23 kilometers from Krasnoufimsk, she nearly gets caught. She's in an elderly woman's apartment. The woman is dead. Gaidamachuk is searching when she hears a knock at the door. "Police! Open the door!" Her heart stops. "This is Senior Lieutenant Petrov. We received a call from neighbors. Please open the door." She doesn't move, doesn't breathe, presses against the wall. The doorknob rattles. "Hello? Are you all right in there?" Silence. "Ma'am, if you don't answer, I'll have to call for assistance. Please leave." Finally, footsteps. The officer is leaving. She hears him on his radio. No answer. Door's locked. Might be sleeping. "I'll come back in an hour." He doesn't come back. By law, police need a warrant to enter without permission. Gaidamachuk waits until dark, opens the door slowly, slips out, locks it behind her, walks down 5 flights, exits through the back. That was too close, but she got away. She always gets away. February 2008, Nizhny Tagil. Gaidamachuk kills another elderly woman, presents herself as a gas company employee. This time she takes a gold chain, rare for her. She doesn't know who this victim is. The dead woman is Antonina Tretiakova. Her son is Vladimir Tretiakov, deputy chief of the Nizhny Tagil Police Department. Orders come from the top. Solve this case. Now, whatever it takes. March 2008. Police arrest Maria Valieva, a woman from Verkhnaya Tura. Unemployed, alcoholic. Fits the description. Blonde, thin, right age. Senior investigator Konstantin Volkov leads interrogation. He needs a confession. You killed those women. Confess now. I didn't kill anyone. The interrogation lasts days. They don't let her sleep. Don't let her call a lawyer. When she won't confess, they escalate. They put a plastic bag over her head, tie it around her neck, hold it until she passes out, revive her. Do it again. They don't feed her. 3 days without food. They beat her. Punches to the stomach, kicks to the legs. On the 4th day, Maria Valieva breaks. Yes, I did it. I killed them. Just stop. How many? 14. I killed 14 women. They feed her the story. She repeats it. She signs a full confession. The police announce the arrest. Press conference. Nizhny Tagil maniac caught. Case closed. Medals awarded. Except for one problem. April 2008. Serov. An elderly woman is found dead. Hammer blows. Locked door. Same pattern. But Maria Valieva is in custody. She couldn't have committed this murder. The truth comes out. The torture is exposed. Of 5 officers involved, 3 received prison sentences, 2 years each. Volkov gets 3 years. 2 others get suspended sentences. Maria Valieva is released with compensation, 50,000 rubles for her suffering, traumatized for life. The real investigation continues, back to zero. And Irina Gaidamachuk keeps killing. February 2010. Irina Gaidamachuk abandons her family. She tells Yuri and 12-year-old Nastya that she's going to her mother-in-law's. She doesn't return. She moves in with a new lover, Sergei, 50 years old, living alone. He doesn't ask questions. Yuri reports her missing. Police do a basic investigation. She's an adult, probably just left. Nastya is devastated. Despite everything, she loved her mother. Now she's abandoned too. For 3 months, Irina lives with Sergei. They drink together every day, but the money runs out. She needs money. May 22, 2010, Saturday, warm spring day. Irina walks to Uktomskogo Street, the same street where she killed her first victim 8 years ago. She thinks about Alexandra Povoritsina, 81 years old, lives alone. Irina knows her. 3 years ago, Alexandra hired her to whitewash a ceiling. The job went well. Recently, Alexandra mentioned needing more work. Perfect. Irina knocks on the door, 1:30 in the afternoon. Who is it? Alexandra, it's Ira. You asked about painting work. Oh, Ira, yes, come in. The door opens. Alexandra smiles. Would you like some tea first? That would be lovely. They sit in the kitchen, drink tea, talk about the weather, about Alexandra's cat Mirka. So, about the painting, do you have time? Actually, I have time today. Wonderful. Alexandra stands, turns toward the hallway. Irina reaches into her bag. 18 blows, more than ever before. Alexandra's skull is destroyed. But Irina hears something, a wet, gurgling sound. The old woman is still alive. She drags the body to the bathroom, fills the bathtub with cold water, lowers the body in, holds the head under, counts to 200. Finally, silence. She searches, finds only 800 rubles, takes some food, locks the door, throws the key down the garbage chute. 2 days later, Monday, Alexandra's neighbor hears the cat. Murka is crying, starving. The neighbor calls the building superintendent. They call emergency services. Firefighters break down the door. The smell hits them immediately. They find the body in the bathtub. This time, there's a lead. Alexandra's friend tells police. She mentioned she was going to hire that painter woman again, Irina something. They met at the railway depot. Police go to the depot. The manager checks records. Irina Gaidamachuk worked here on and off from 2000 to 2008. They put out a bulletin. A tip comes in. Yeah, I know her. Lives with Sergei Borodin now. Naberezhnaya Street, Building 7, Apartment 2. Police arrive at 6 a.m. Find her in bed. Irina Gaidamachuk, come with us for questioning. At the station, they take her fingerprints. 6 hours later, the results come back. Perfect match. The fingerprints match the hammer from the 9th murder. Match prints from several other scenes. DNA analysis confirms everything. Hair, found clutched in one victim's hand. Handwriting matches notes left at doors. 8 years, 17 murders, 3,000 people questioned. All this time, she lived in the center of Krasnoufimsk. The composite sketch hung across from her house. 8 years of hunting are over. June 2010. Irina Gaidamachuk sits in an interrogation room. She's 48 years old. Did you kill these women? Silence. Then, quietly, how many do you think I killed? We have evidence linking you to 17 murders. Irina nods. Yes, that sounds right. Maybe 18. I lost count. Why did you kill them? Money. I needed money for vodka. My husband wouldn't give me any. Old women always have money for funerals. Over the next weeks, Irina confesses to everything, gives detailed statements, draws diagrams, points out unsolved murders. She agrees to investigative reconstructions, shows exactly what she did, where she stood, how she swung the hammer. Her motive remains unclear. 50,000 rubles over 8 years. 17 murders for less than 3,000 each. She left gold jewelry behind. When pressed, she gets agitated. I needed cash immediately. You can't drink gold. At one point, she claims she's pregnant. Medical examination proves she's lying. They send her to Moscow, to the Serbsky State Scientific Center. 3 psychiatrists examine her. Conclusion: chronic alcoholism and antisocial personality disorder, but legally sane. She understood her actions, knew they were wrong, planned them, no remorse. February 2012, Sverdlovsk Regional Court. The trial begins. The criminal case file, 443 volumes, over 30,000 pages, 2,000 forensic analyses, 21 relatives of victims recognized as victims in the trial. Judge Pavel Neretin presides. They delivered the case files in a truck. I've been a judge for 20 years. Never seen anything like it. The trial lasts 4 months. In court, Gaidamachuk sits in the defendant's cage. She looks bored, yawns. Suddenly she changes her story, claims she didn't do it. Police fabricated evidence. She's innocent. Her lawyer argues the confessions were coerced, the fingerprints planted. Nobody believes this. The evidence is overwhelming. Her husband Yuri testifies. She went out frequently, sometimes for entire days, sometimes came home with blood on her clothing. She said she had accidents at work as a painter. Her daughter Nastya doesn't testify. She's 14, getting therapy. Her older daughter Alina submits a written statement. I haven't seen my mother since she abandoned me at age 6. I have nothing to say. The prosecutor delivers a devastating closing. The defendant systematically hunted elderly women for 8 years, 17 murders. She planned each crime, left notes, posed as officials, brought weapons, locked doors, attempted to destroy evidence. These are calculated, cold-blooded murders. She showed no mercy to women in their 70s, 80s, 90s, women who offered her tea, trusted her. She beat them to death with hammers for vodka money. June 4, 2012, Judge Pavel Naretin announces the verdict. Irina Gaidamachuk is found guilty of 17 murders under aggravating circumstances and 1 attempted murder. Sentence: 20 years imprisonment in a general regime colony, plus 2 years restricted freedom after release, plus 30,000 rubles in court costs. This is the maximum possible punishment for women in Russia. Under Article 57 of the Criminal Code, women are not sentenced to life imprisonment. Gaidamachuk does not appeal. The local police officer responsible for the district where Gaidamachuk lived was dismissed. The composite sketch hung across from her house. He didn't notice. 12-year-old Nastya experienced terrible trauma, pressure from townspeople, mockery from peers, bullying. Her only defender, her father Yuri, a man who lived with a serial killer for 14 years and suspected nothing. The older daughter Alina, whom her mother gave to an orphanage at age 6, learned about the crimes from the news. She was 36 years old. Irina Gaidamachuk is serving her sentence in a general regime colony in Sverdlovsk Oblast. According to the sentence, she should be released in 2030. She'll be 58 years old. But by law, a criminal who has served 2/3 of the sentence can apply for parole. 2/3 of 20 years is 13 years and 4 months. Irina Gaidamachuk could be released as early as late 2023 or early 2024. The prosecutor summarized. The accused searched for elderly women, found ways to enter their apartments, drank tea in their kitchens, or asked for water. After the victim turned away, she struck blows with a hammer to the head, covered the head with pillows, took only money, leaving gold. All crimes have one style and one scenario. 17 lives, 17 lonely women aged 61 to 89. They opened their doors to a stranger, offered her tea, believed her, for 50,000 rubles and liters of vodka. They called her the Krasnoufimsk wolf woman, Satan in a skirt, Raskolnikov in a skirt, female Chikatilo. She became the most brutal female serial killer in the history of modern Russia. A knock at the door. You look through the peephole. Some doors are better left unopened.